The U.S. is opening for fully vaccinated travelers, including those from China. Parts of China are getting blasted by a snowstorm, almost a full month earlier than usual. A $200 million Marvel Studios movie wasn't released in China this weekend, all because of remarks its director made years ago. Mockups of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier discovered in a desert. Satellite images suggest they could be part of new Chinese Army training exercises. Beijing blacklists 3 Taiwan politicians, but instead of viewing them as punishment, those on China's blacklist instead respond with statements of pride. And a major meeting of the Chinese Communist Party has begun. Ahead of the event, the regime's top media mouthpiece published a 12,000-word article highlighting what it called Xi Jinping's achievements. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Before we start with our daily news, we have a short announcement. We have our premiere at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time from Monday to Saturday on our YouTube channel and also on TV. NTD is available on many platforms, including cable TV, satellite, and over-the-air TV across the U.S., and it continues to grow. Please check out ntd.com/TV. Type in your zip code to find all the ways you can watch our show. That's ntd.com/TV. Starting Monday, travelers can again fly to the United States as long as they can show 2 things: proof of vaccination against COVID-19 and a negative virus test. That includes travelers from China. The U.S. travel ban was imposed in the early days of the pandemic in 2020, impacting more than 30 countries. The loosened restriction raises another question: which vaccines does the U.S. consider valid? Vaccines approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration are on the list, and also those approved by the United Nations for emergency use. That includes 2 vaccines from China, Sinovac's CoronaVac and the state-owned Sinopharm's vaccine. The WHO says the Sinopharm vaccine is about 80% effective, and CoronaVac comes in at a little more than 50% effective. In China, the vast majority have received domestic vaccines, but foreign vaccines likely were imported from other countries as well. At the end of last year, a Chinese company announced it would buy at least 100 million doses from the German company BioNTech. This triggered a discussion online about who would get this vaccine in China. There was no follow-up report on Chinese media. Now, an indication of the efficacy of Chinese-made vaccines, Hong Kong uses Chinese-made vaccines widely, including Sinovac. A government pandemic expert recently said some Sinovac recipients may need a 4th shot as a booster. The reason? After the 3rd jab, antibody levels in the body may be low. That's what Professor David Hui said over the weekend. He added half a year after the 2nd Sinovac shot, the antibody level might drop to a low level. And if this person chooses a German-made BioNTech jab for the 3rd shot, the antibody level will be boosted to 97%. But if he chooses the Sinovac shot again, the antibody level will only rise to 58%. As a result, the professor suggested that people with 3 Sinovac shots should have a 4th as a booster. Panic buying in China continues following China's Commerce Ministry's notice last week that recommended citizens stock up on food for the winter. In many parts of China, residents are buying in a frenzy. Goods like pork, rice, and vegetables in grocery stores are having a hard time keeping up with the demand. A number of store shelves are empty or near empty. Panic buying has reached cutthroat levels in some areas, similar to the sight occasionally seen on Black Fridays in the U.S. In China's Hebei province, a horde of locals sprinted into a grocery store the second it opened for business. The scene was chaotic. People were pushing, shoving, and yelling. Some tripped and fell. Following the Commerce Ministry's notice, many citizens are speculating whether there's an impending food shortage. A Chinese Communist Party media outlet published a 12,000-word article listing party leader Xi Jinping's achievements. That's before an important Chinese Communist Party meeting, which some speculate may pave the way for Xi's 3rd 5-year term in office. However, many question the so-called achievements.
The Chinese Communist Party kicked off a major meeting on Monday. The 4-part meeting is attended by the party's Central Committee officials. It's being held in Beijing behind closed doors. This is a key gathering for settling a new group of top party leaders. Communist Party leader Xi Jinping is eyeing an unprecedented third five-year term in office. The plenary meeting is expected to set the tone for his move. A Sunday report from French broadcaster Radio France Internationale, or RFI, says the CCP media mouthpiece is trying to make Xi Jinping a god. Xinhua News published a long article over the weekend listing Xi Jinping's achievements in his 9 years in office. But the report triggered many questions. For example, Xinhua praised Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign, but it is widely considered a tool for Xi to eliminate his enemies within the party. The Xinhua report also lists Xi Jinping's diplomatic achievements, quoting Xi as saying, "Our friends are all over the world." However, in the eyes of many observers, the greatest failure of Xi Jinping's administration has been China's increasing isolation in the international community. Xinhua's Xi Jinping homage uses many big words to cement his personality cult. A French media professional commented, "Xi Jinping is the son of the world, the savior of mankind, and no one realizes how ungrateful they are." RFI commented the media put all the merit on one person, the most important indication they're trying to make him into a god.
An early season snowstorm blanketed parts of northern China over the weekend. Authorities forecast up to 11 inches of snow in some areas. Roads were closed and flights were canceled. And China's national weather forecaster issued its second highest weather warning. In Beijing, the snow this year came almost a month earlier than expected. And temperatures hovered around 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The snow has caused more than 170 bus lines to be suspended. The blizzard has also swept to neighboring provinces like Hebei and Tianjin. At least 6 other provinces are affected as well. Together, some 140 highways have been shuttered. The blizzard is getting attention nationwide. On Chinese social media platform Weibo, the hashtag Beijing's first snow has racked up nearly 1.2 billion views. The snow and drop in temperature comes on the heels of a coal supply crunch and electricity rationing in northeast China. Marvel Studios' $200 million movie Eternals was not released in China over the weekend, despite opening in 46 other locations internationally. The director of the movie, Chloe Zhao, once made a comment criticizing China. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Eternals is the newest Marvel Studios movie that is unlikely to get a China release soon. This comes without too much bewilderment, as the director of the movie once said in an interview that in China, there are lies everywhere.
We're Eternals.
The Disney movie opened in theaters over the weekend in the US and international territories. However, it didn't see a release in China. It's not unexpected, as speculation of a snub was already circulating ever since Chinese film authorities censored Oscar-winning director Chloe Zhao's previous movie, Nomadland. Authorities scrubbed news of her win at the Oscars for that movie from the Chinese internet. This was after Chinese netizens dug up an 8-year-old comment from Zhao, in which she criticized China. Disney remains the most heavily invested studio in China, and without a China release, the movie could potentially lose hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. The situation for Eternals follows a similar pattern for Chinese film authorities, as seen in the last Marvel movie, Shang-Chi. That movie has yet to see a Chinese release even weeks after its global premiere, after online sleuths in China dug up a years-old comment made by the lead actor Simu Liu, who said that people had died of starvation in China.
We have helped them progress.
Marvel's Eternals opened with around $70 million in the US ticket sales over the weekend, grossing around $90 million internationally. The movie cost about $200 million to produce. Don Ma, NTD News.
Beijing seems to be practicing how to deal with U.S. aircraft carriers, not in the South China Sea, but in the desert of northwest China. China's military has built mock-ups in the shape of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier and other warships, possibly as training targets. That's based on satellite images from the desert of the Xinjiang region, captured by U.S.-based space technology company Maxar. The images reveal full-scale outlines of a U.S. aircraft carrier and at least 2 missile destroyers. The construction appears to be part of a new target range complex in the Taklamakan Desert. According to the U.S. Naval Institute, the complex has been used for ballistic missile testing in the past. The carrier appears to be rigged on a track and may be used to simulate a moving ship target during missile launch training exercises. China's defense ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Is the U.S. still trying to bring about changes in China? The U.S. National Security Advisor gave a clear answer over the weekend. In a CNN interview, he said the Biden administration is not seeking fundamental changes to the system in China.
I think one of the errors of previous approaches to policy towards China has been a view that through U.S. policy, we would bring about a fundamental transformation of the Chinese system. That is not the object of the Biden administration. The object of the Biden administration is to shape the international environment so that it is more favorable to the interests and values of the United States and its allies and partners, to like-minded democracies. It is not to bring about some fundamental transformation of China itself.
Interpretations of Sullivan's remarks vary. Chinese state-run media seemed happy, as the Global Times says Sullivan's remarks suggest a softer tone on U.S.-China ties, but words alone are not enough. And the Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post says the U.S. wants coexistence, not Cold War with China. The media outlet is backed by Beijing. China affairs analyst Tang Jingyuan said Sullivan's remarks could also indicate that the U.S. finally gave up its naivete in believing that the Chinese Communist Party could be changed through economic interactions with other countries. But it still remains to be seen what the Biden administration is going to do. The Chinese Communist Party is sanctioning more foreign politicians, but the actions seem to be doing the opposite of what the regime intended. Beijing blacklisted 3 Taiwan politicians last Friday: Premier Su Tseng-chang, Legislative President You Si-kun, and Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. Chinese officials called them hard-headed Taiwan independence advocates and prohibited them and their families from entering mainland China, Hong Kong, or Macau. Later the same day, a Communist Party-backed military news outlet published a report noting the sanctions were just the beginning. The article added that mainland China will take no mercy on Taiwan. Premier Su responded later, saying he won't be intimidated and would firmly defend Taiwan's sovereignty. Legislative President You took another approach. He explained that after getting sanctioned, his online popularity seemed to surge. Similarly, Foreign Minister Wu posted about the penalties on social media, calling Beijing's sanctions a rare honor. Wu says many have even congratulated him for his place on China's blacklist. Online, some have jokingly asked where they can apply to be added to the regime's blacklist. Taiwan's representative in Germany, Xi Jinping, seems to be one of them. He recently took to social media as well, blaming Chinese authorities for excluding his name from their sanctions list. In a long Facebook post, he wrote, "I've never changed my intention to defend Taiwan's sovereignty, freedom, and democracy for so many years. I've criticized the unscrupulous, shameless, bloodless, and merciless CCP regime for so many years." Because of those actions, he strongly protested the Chinese Communist regime's decision and demanded that his name be added to the list immediately. The Chinese Communist regime labeled U.S. charges against a Chinese citizen pure fabrication. On Friday, the U.S. Justice Department said Xu Jinping had been convicted by a federal jury of espionage crimes, including plotting to steal trade secrets from several U.S. aviation and aerospace companies. Xi was arrested in Belgium in 2018. He may be the first Chinese agent extradited to the United States to stand trial. Xi was convicted of 2 counts of conspiring and attempting to commit economic espionage, in addition to a count of conspiring to commit trade secret theft and 2 counts of attempted theft of trade secrets. Xi faces a maximum 60 years in prison and fines totaling more than $5 million. He will be sentenced by a federal district court judge. Going back as far as 2013, Xi was accused of using multiple aliases to steal trade secrets on behalf of China. Multiple U.S. aviation and aerospace companies, including GE Aviation, a unit of General Electric, were his targets. An FBI officer testified late October that in 2017, Xi brought 200 family photos of a GE Aviation engineer when meeting him to intimidate him into becoming a spy. China has been cracking down on its tech giants, including e-commerce titan Alibaba. Now, a Japanese company is feeling the effects.
On Monday, SoftBank said it faced a $10 billion hit to the value of its Mammoth Vision Fund, which invests in tech firms. Chief Executive Masayoshi Son said the reason was simple.
Alibaba shares sharply declined and the price of the Chinese stock the Vision Fund has invested in fell. These are the two biggest factors that drag down the value of our net asset value, or net profit.
Alibaba's stock valuation fell by around a third over the second quarter. SoftBank's stake in ride-hailing giant Didi declined in value from $12 billion to $7.5 billion. The falls come as China takes steps to rein in its tech giants. Son says that means winter is coming for SoftBank.
What happened to SoftBank Group is that we are in the middle of a blizzard. It's a big storm. It's the first cold blast of winter.
It all drove SoftBank to a quarterly loss of $3.5 billion. But Son remains undaunted, planning a multi-billion-dollar share buyback. Analysts say the firm also has a robust portfolio of other investments, including Indian ride-hailing firm Ola.
Hong Kong scuba diving enthusiasts got a taste of famous Taiwan dive sites on Saturday without traveling to Taiwan. They did it at the bottom of a swimming pool in their home city. Emma McCarthy reports.
Taiwan's renowned diving spots have been recreated in a Hong Kong swimming pool. With widespread travel restrictions in place, photographs of marine wildlife and landmarks have been placed underwater. It's the closest thing to the real deal that travel writer Lam Sai Long has had in a long time.
I think it's very exciting. I haven't dived for like 2 years since I can't travel. I think it's like the whole event is quite interesting that I get a chance to really explore the underwater world in Taiwan. I've never been to Taiwan, I've never dived in Taiwan. I've been to Taiwan many times, but I don't know for whatever reason I didn't dive there. But I think it gives me such a good experience to explore the Taiwan underwater world. So maybe, like, if I have a chance in the future, Taiwan maybe is a good place for me to dive.
Hong Kong is following Beijing's lead in retaining travel curbs, in contrast to a worldwide trend of opening up. Despite barely any recent local cases, Hong Kong's mandatory quarantine term is 21 days for arrivals from most countries. But for now, at least, the pool will suffice.
Yeah, I haven't feel like this happy for quite some time.
Non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, are getting more popular. Now luxury brands are joining the party too. But what exactly are they selling? NTD's Colin Fredrickson explains.
Luxury brands are entering the shopping metaverse. They now offer non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, in China, just ahead of the Singles' Day sale. Online retail giant Alibaba launched a Metaverse art exhibition. Last year, the platform brought in a whopping $74 billion during Singles' Day through live streaming strategies and the digital NFT collectible trend. Now, unsurprisingly, luxury brands like Burberry and Coach are flocking there and have created their own NFTs for the event.
I think a lot of luxury goods providers are going to be considering it around authenticity. I think is kind of table stakes.
Trevor Dudek is the co-founder of a digital marketing firm. He says it's not only that the customer gets an extra item, buyers can also go to the blockchain to look at the contract and validate the authenticity of the product through the NFT that came with it. Burberry, for instance, sold out of special edition scarves that were listed for $450 each. They came with an interactive deer.
It makes sense that it would really have a lot of awareness in Asia because that's the top Bitcoin mining country and has been for a while.
But these NFTs are sold for an affordable price. This removes the barriers of entry and increases consumer acceptance. In the U.S., this trend is also gaining momentum, especially over the past year, according to gov't.
And I think that as we continue to live more and more in the digital world, people covet that digital presence and that digital sort of level that they want to achieve. You know, that the blue check mark on Instagram is highly coveted.
gov't says that in the next 5 years, he expects that every brand is going to have an NFT component to what they do. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And that's all for today's China in Focus. But before you go, China news may seem chaotic. With so much information swirling in the news, we want to offer you a look at the bigger picture to help you make sense of the details. If you haven't already, use the link in the description box and subscribe to our China in Focus newsletter. On top of offering the highlights of what's going on, it also gives the much-needed context behind those stories. And once in a while, you'll also get a peek into some behind-the-scenes content to see what we're up to. Every Friday morning, the latest will land in your inbox. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.